Dear ladies, demographics is key. It's key to understanding the major economic and social trends, but it's key because it's one of the rare exact human sciences with some kind of little certainty compared to everything else. And so it's key to anticipate and to help us to prepare of what we have to face and to build. So today I would like to share with you a quick overview of 3 major trends for the years and decades to come. And fantastic, it works. The advent of Asia and Africa, the increase in the world population, the shift between an aging North and the young South, and we'll see together the impacts on growth, workforce, immigration, and of course, women. Today, the world population is 8.2 billion, and it will continue to grow until the 2080s, before declining. Not very good news for the climate change. As Asia is already the leading continent, you see on the left, with more than half of the world population. This demographic leadership of Asia will continue, even if its population will stabilize and even settle down a little. But the new phenomenon that has begun and will accelerate is the era of Africa. Africa will experience a meteoric rise to reach 2.5 times its current population at the end of the century. Africa will represent more than twice as much as Europe, North America, and Latin America combined. This upheaval of the center of gravity of the world's population, already at work today, is often underestimated in its consequences. In Asia, it's clearly India, the world's largest population, and yesterday China, that have driven or are driving this demographic growth. In Africa, many countries, but particularly Nigeria and Congo, will experience a complete upheaval of their population. When you look at country, we also see tectonic changes since 1950. In 1950, China was the largest population in the world, but with a third of its current population, followed by India. Since then, the Indian population has been multiplied by 4. The US was the third country, followed by Russia, Japan, and Germany. Germany, the only country, European country in this table. India was already ahead of China today with a much stronger demographic dynamism. The US are still the third population, but not for long, followed now by Indonesia, Pakistan, and Nigeria. Germany, the larger European country, no longer appears in the top 10 countries anymore. Looking forward to 2100, not only India is ahead, but China still second, will have lost half of its population if the current trends continue. The population of Nigeria, Pakistan, and Congo will have more than double and will be part of the top 5 countries, while US will be relegated, if I may say, to the 6th place. It's not a small evolution, it's a revolution. Why is this demographic shift? The aging of the population is general, thanks to the increase in life expectancy most everywhere in the world. But north of the planet, North America, Europe, Russia, China, Japan, combine this lengthening of life with a sharp decline in the birth rate over the past 20 years. We started to hear that in the media, but it has started 20, 30 years ago. 1/3 of Europeans are more than 50 years old. And to compare, 1 in 2 Africans is under 20 years old. And even under 15 for Niger. As an example, we'll see Germany, thanks to your host. Today, the population is elderly. And you can see the babies are on the bottom and the elder people, that's the global, the world. You will see that it will be aging. And if we compare to Germany on the top is today. The babies on the bottom, on the up, it's the elderly. So today, 1/3 of the German population is over 60 years old, 1/3. And the country will lose 11 million of workers by 2030, tomorrow morning, only for demographic reasons. On the contrary, the age structure of Nigeria, you see, on the top it's today, very young, even if it will balance over time. And it's one of the youngest and faster growing in the world, with 60% of the population is below 25. The consequences of this double effect of aging and birth rate are very strong. To start with the economic fields, the first one is obviously the availability of workforce, since there will be surplus of labor force in Africa, partly in India and in South Asia, and countries more in the north of the planet with a labor force shortage, much more dramatic than today, and it does exist today, mainly all over the north of the planet. So for a country, what does it mean? Having a young population is obviously a very huge advantage for the future. It's what we call demographic dividend. In terms of consumption, dynamism, entrepreneurship. But in the short term, and like in climate, we have the conflict between the short term and the long-term interest. In the short term, it represents phenomenal needs in infrastructure, technology, jobs creation, education, healthcare, housing, food supply, water, transportation, etc. Most of the countries cannot support the needed investment alone. So the dividend, the demographic positive dividend, can also contribute to ecological degradation, increased inequalities and conflicts. But it matters for all the other countries. Nobody is alone. Like in climate, in demography, our destinies are linked. The demand for workforce in the north and the excess of offer in the south will increase the professional migration. I would even say that this complementarity and solidarity between countries is so needed that it will probably surpass the ideological barriers that are rising everywhere. But what about the women? The participation of women is highest at the two extremes, in the poorest, in the richest countries. But informal jobs, of course, it's in the richest countries. I would just remind us that almost all women work on the planet, a way or another. But only 55% of women have a paid job, compared to 79% of men. So this participation to the workforce will potentially increase, but still lower than it could. And as I said, it increases more in the developed country. As you can see, that's the history of Europe. You can see by up and down, but the participation of in Europe and US and North America, this increase over time. Why does demographics matter? The increase of the world population, increased pressure on global warming energy issues and urbanization, knowing that Asia, the most populated part, is already the most urbanized part of the world. It increased professional migration, inequalities, and risk of inflation. And in developed countries, and with other also, it goes with a sociological change, it's not demographic, but you will touch it also. Young people have different expectations of the previous generation because they don't believe so much in the future. So they believe in the present, they believe in themselves, but today, immediately, close to them. And so they are looking for purpose, for work-life balance, for other values. So if we focus on women, the challenge for women is not to stay out of this dynamic, but to seize opportunities. Firstly, basic but crucial, having a higher participation rate in the economy, that our economic independence, that's the first lever of freedom. Secondly, face together, both in developed and developing countries, again, a very strong social and political pressure rising on the birth rate, without respect of women's choice. Back to the future. Third, train and invest in technology, artificial intelligence, and science for health and ecology. Missing this wave would mean missing 1 or 2 generations' opportunities. It's now. To prepare the future, to shape the future, it starts now. And fourth, of course, we need to consider our #1 priority, girls' education. 55% of the jobs that will do our children don't exist today, thanks to AI, technology, and green transition. So we need to prepare for uncertainty. But you can prepare with education, including for uncertainty. The skills set has to be larger. Demography matters and help us to understand the megatrends. It pushes us to act immediately. Women and girls matter. We matter for next generation, for the sake of humanity. So let's not give up, my friends and sisters. Thank you.
Thank you, Muriel.